hear that running, that is the Buick running. So she's running great, but here lately, the more I've driven it, I've noticed the engine's not quite as happy. The idle gets kind of rough at times. Sometimes actually getting some internal engine noise, and I pulled off the cap for the oil filter, not the oil filter, for the oil fill cap in the valve cover today, and there wasn't a whole lot of oil flow. So there's going to be a few things I think is going on. I think oil flow may be causing a little bit of our issues. We may have picked up some trash in the oil galley, or the head that goes up to the shaft that oils the rocker arm. So I'm going to take off the valve cover, see if we can see anything wrong, or if it's just in that little hole we're not being able to see all the oil flow. Two, I definitely think there's a run issue at times. I think when it gets hot, it doesn't run quite like it's supposed to. It has a little mist. Now I've sprayed brake clean around the carburetor and the spacer to make sure that it's sealed. A lot of times if you spray that and the idle goes up, then it's not sealed. That's where your vacuum leak is. So no issues there, but I haven't checked the cap and roller. We know the coil's good, the plugs are good because we did that. The wires look great too as well. So we're just going to check a few things and see if we can't get this car sorted out and run just a little bit happier. All right, so we've got this side off. Everything looks to be intact. We've got some oil down there, and all the lifters, can't push on any, all of them pumped up, which we just ran the engine, so they should be. So I think we're good. What I'm going to do, put a ton of rags all through here. I'm just gonna start it, and you guys will see it before I do, and just let it run for 2-3 seconds and just make a huge mess, but at least this way we can see that all of them are oiling or not, just to be on the safe side. I really think the ticking noise that this engine has sometimes is, I think one of the lifters in there is just a little worn out, which is to be expected after however long ago this thing was built, which it looks like they did a really good job. You can see here, we've got one broken stud right there. Sorry, I can't do this all at once. One broken stud for the valve cover hold on, but it doesn't look like that's hurting much. But yeah, so I don't think that's a run issue. I think the ticking is just a lifter in there. Now, I haven't checked the other side, obviously, and there's a ton of stuff over it, so that'll probably be for this weekend, but the sound came from over here, so it's one of these lifters that just needs a little extra pump up in the morning, is what I'm thinking. So anyways, let me set up the towel, set up the camera, and you guys just yell at me when you see oil just cover everything and totally make a huge mess, okay? You gotta let me know, just scream at me. All right, you guys are all set up. You better yell at me. You better let me know that things went awry. And yeah, these all these rags are trash. They're not as clean as they look on video, so yeah, I'm not being wasteful. Let's make sure we don't suck anything mechanically caught. Well guys, that's not a lot of oil. You guys see what I'm saying? There's like no oil. Nanskis. Everything's working. There's nothing. This stuff will help you. Alright, so we got a little oil coming from here. Yeah, we definitely got some issues here, guys. Alright, I'm going to take you guys off this and bring you in a little closer. This is also from my record. So, oil here, hardly any here. I'm not seeing any oil here. Yeah, these two are oiling. And looks like those two in the back, but this right here is not. We're getting nothing. So, I'm going to have to check in on that and see what is going on, because that is very odd that we're not getting into the end. You can hear that ticking. It's right up there. So we need to figure out what's going on. Alright guys, I'm going to shut this off and come up with a good game plan, and then we'll go from there. Alright guys, I don't know if you can hear me, but as you can see, there we go, perfect. We've got oil on all the top ones, except for that guy right there. Not any right through there. I looked it up there, push rod, they oil through the push rod, think I found our problem right here. Back and forth. Hear that? That is slack. So one of two things are happening. Either the lifter's not pumping up, or, which I don't think is the case because you can't push it all the way down, or the cam's going flat. And I would be willing to bet it is more than likely the cam going flat. And that's why, wow, ooh, too hot still. But that is why we're picking up that extra clearance. So it's a shame, it sucks, but part of it. Now what am I going to do to confirm this? Two things. I've kept all the oil, I'm trying to give you guys the oil filters over there. I've kept all the oil filters for this, so I'm going to cut them apart to see if there's shavings in there. And I'm going to take the oil filter off this current car and cut it apart to see if there's shavings in there, because more than likely there will be, especially if it's eating a cam. There should be quite a few. So, bad day, but at least we caught it. Didn't leave me stranded anywhere. And we have a backup motor anyways. So, anyways, I am going to start cutting filters apart, and I'll let you guys see the video for that. Okay, so we determined that these were clogged and causing oiling issues for up here. So I talked to my two buddies from engine building school, Dan and Pete, which are always a big help. If you guys are watching, thank you. And I got to thinking, I was like, well, if we're not getting enough lube through the push rods, none of this is getting enough lube. So that is exactly what happens. You can see here where the rocker arm is rubbing into the shafts. And like this one, it won't catch. And this is one of the ones that was a little bit better lube, but this one too is all scarred up. So I think what happened was no lube through there, and then it caused all of this to get burned up. I'm gonna flip these over, take out these little plastic pieces, and just get an idea of how bad this shaft is. I can't do that with you guys because I need both hands, so I'll open up another video and let you guys see that. But I think these just little things just pull out. I don't think it's anything particularly too hard, so let me get that done real quick. All right, so the shaft, obviously they're knocked off. All of these are worn, and you can hear that, you can kind of feel them, but these, especially this one, they get stuck. They're just, it is eat up, guys. There's a heck of a ridge where it's been like side loading, doing stuff. And these things have kind of this cool, it's like a little engine bearing in them, and it is scuffed up really bad, really, really bad. They're supposed to have like this line in them, and yeah, that one line is pretty much gone. So yeah. So we need to order shafts and push rods. I can do that tomorrow. Make sure I've got this orientation right real quick before I forget. Okay, so that one goes there, and then that one. So anyways, I'll order this tomorrow. New shafts, new rocker arms, new little plastic pieces, which these things, oh, that's one of the lash caps from the bottom of them. I did not know that those were removable. That's pretty cool, actually. Pretty tight. Oh yeah, comes right out. Huh. Learn something every day, guys. Okay, anyways. So yeah, these things are definitely trash. So I'm gonna order that. I need to measure out push rods and basically get this stuff ordered so we can move that thing out in front of my shop. But that's where I'm gonna leave you guys. The video will start back up probably with the new shafts here, and it's ready to put it back together. And our lights out. So that's gonna be it for tonight. Like I said, this will pick right back up and we'll get to it. All right, our new rocker arms and shafts are out. I got to clean these, but I'm just kind of setting them up, seeing how everything works, make sure there's no surprises. One thing I found interesting, obviously these are our old one. There's some really cool design features about these as far as them having like their own kind of bearing in the bottom, and it's got an X for oil to ride. But one thing I think that's gonna help us with our situation, if you look in here, I don't know if you guys probably can't, okay, you see it. Basically, the oil's not a straight shot. It comes up through here and then kind of gets pumped through there, and then that drains down all the way into here and lubricates the shaft. Where the new ones, it just basically goes right in and starts pouring down. So I think, although this setup is not as nice looking or as, it doesn't have the bearing in it as the old ones, I think this is gonna oil a lot better. I mean, you can see it, like you can just see straight through. There's the hole, there it is. Where this one's kind of offset just a little bit, and it's kind of like a half moon. So I think this one's gonna do a better job of getting our oil there. Now, I am gonna flush the oiling system with some, I think it's liquid moly, and we're gonna pick up some brake clean after work here and get all this stuff nice and cleaned up, because you never wanna put in anything new without cleaning it. There is orientation to the rockers, and they send you this nice paperwork that goes into where everything's supposed to be. Driver side, passenger, so that's pretty awesome. No torque specs, but they're 25 for the bolt, so no worries. But anyways, we're gonna soak all this, clean it, soak it all in oil, put it on. The only thing that will get assembly lube per se is gonna be these bottoms right here. I don't wanna put assembly lube in these because I want oil to come out. And I don't want it to clog up the push rods either, so put assembly lube right in here for startup. And on the end, that is one thing that sucks, where these had kind of like a lash. This one's gonna be one that doesn't come out. A lash kind of cap deal that could come out. You can see that and push it back in. These don't, but they do have a wider surface area, so I think it's kind of give or take, but our main thing, we want better oiling. I think that's the way to go. So anyways, and our push rods, as we've seen in there, are all right here. We need to give them a good clean. Now, these are made a little different than what I thought. The internal oil passage is not as big as the factory ones, but they're also still not crazy small either. But with running a push rod that's over 9.5 inches long, you see there's all the specs. 5/16, what we call 80 wall, a little bit over it. It's still a much more rugged piece. And the inner side's what I'm talking about. So I showed you the other video how the inner on the other one was huge. This one is a little bit smaller, so maybe it won't take as much oil to fill up. But it's time to get these things clean and get them on. As you can see, we got it running. It's finally starting to build some oil in all of these. Up here just a little bit. That smoking off just where some of it moved when we were moving the car in. You see, we're getting just a little bit. See, that one back here, this one over here that's really shooting stuff, that's how it's supposed to be. That is how it's supposed to be, but we got the moly lube in it now, kind of thin that stuff out. And once the fans come on, we'll let it run for another 15 minutes or so, 10 to 15, as the moly lube it says, and we'll flush it. It's good that it's starting to build some oil up here and get it out. Two things is going to happen. One, I'm going into lighter weight oil, which what's in there is not very heavy anyways. And two, I'm going with a filter with a drain back valve in it, because that filter down there does not. It's getting a little smoky in here. I'm going to turn the fan on real quick and turn it this way just so we get some airflow. Don't get smoked out of here. So the oil is drained. Let it drain for like 2 hours. Get every little bit out with that liquid moly engine cleaner debris thingy. So just went back with straight 30 weight, and new filter. So I'm gonna do what I did before, let it run, get up to temperature, see if we get any more oiling out of each side. And whether we do or we don't, I'm still gonna run probably one more of the liquid moly stuff through it just for good measure, and use the last one of our STP filters since the K&N ones are so expensive. So yeah, let's see what happens. I'm hoping for the best, but prepared for the worst. All right, a little RPM, a little more heat. All of our guys here have started oiling. Now, you can't see it in the video, but a lot of them are still pulling up some pretty nasty oil. This one on the very far right here is actually pulling up some air. So I think we've still got some contamination in the oil. So I don't think another flush like we did is gonna work, or maybe it will. But I think I'm gonna try the seafoam where you put some miles on it. But over here, we've got all oil, so this is good. We're back in the game. Just, we need to flush it again with a longer oil interval deal, or with the seafoam stuff where you drive it around some. And then the other thing that needs to happen, oh, sorry, I'm counting and looking at stuff at the same time talking to you guys. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Anyways, yes, so seafoam, let it ride around, flush the oil again. Oh, the other thing is, we're really just gonna have to let this thing warm up before we take off in it. Doesn't have to get to full temperature, but definitely better than what it is. And as you can see that stuff, it is fogging up the shop. Yeah, everything's all right. Everything's getting its oil now, which is good. So yeah, I'm very happy. We've got new rocker arms and the push rods, and we're getting oil. I'm gonna have to make sure to let this engine warm up before I take off, and especially when it's cold and it's winter outside, because it needs to build up that lube before I put any stress and RPM on it. Now, what I was trying to say and got distracted so horribly, seafoam makes an engine clean that like is supposed to stay in for 125 or 150 miles. I have to read the back of the instructions for it at some point. And it's supposed to help clean out this stuff as well. I'll try some of that, because obviously as much stuff as I've had in the oil, I know this is fresh oil and a fresh filter, but this is only going to get so much out changing it, and in this oil change we'll get a little debris, and in the next one we will too. So we got a few oil changes in front of us, but I'm super happy about this. If this can keep us in the game for another 6 to 7 months until the other engine's built, I am ecstatic about that. Or the other engine, whatever we decide on the other engine at this point anyways. I know we're building one, swapping one, I don't know what's going on. But anyways, super happy. I'm gonna let this get up to full temp, then shut it down. And then I've got all our valve covers and stuff that turned out beautiful over here. Oh yeah, much nicer than before. We're gonna put those back on with some RTV on the gasket on the top, so that the gasket will stick to the actual valve cover. And then let that set up a little bit, crank them down, and then tomorrow she's gonna be back on the road. It's been a long week. Tomorrow is our usual car cruise in with friends, so I'm super excited to have it back. And it'll probably end up down in Nashville cruising around too, because I love taking it to the Parthenon. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of here before I die of carbon monoxide poisoning. I'm just gonna keep an eye on the lubrication of it, and then I think we got it.